Though our cameras are smaller than some of the other production cameras that you're going to see on sets, they're still high-end production cameras.
It was a great thing that we got there on time, because that gap of that delay of us arriving to the booth could have jeopardized their video. They could have started presenting and then we would have had to walk in midway, and there you go.
If someone coming into this is a salesperson and not a clinical person, they're going to be able to attach to that and be like, okay, cool, this is someone who's talking my language.
Hey, yo, welcome to today's new episode. My name is Nathan Carrillo. I'm a 7-year filmmaker and editor, and I got two amazing people. Adam, who's also a filmmaker and editor, and Trip, who's a producer and also a filmmaker and editor. Normally, you guys see the final product, but today I'm going to show you a day in life of our production. While Alyssa's having fun dealing with all the logistics, we got to go do our part in finding all the equipment. Adam, can you tell us the equipment that you bring when it comes to these type of conventions?
Yeah, so one of the big considerations we have to make when we go to a convention hall is how much gear to bring. I would love to be able to drive a grip truck into one of those convention halls and have everything I could ever want. But really, when it comes down to it, we just have tons of experience on what works and what doesn't work. And so typically we have a couple of bigger boxes. One of them has some grip equipment. Grip equipment is like what we can use to connect to lights and stands and other things too. And then we also bring a longer stands case, and the stands typically are going to be tripods for cameras, and we have a separate bag that is the size of a carry-on bag intentionally for our cameras. And so what we like to pack for our camera gear on a conference shoot is typically a couple of longer lenses, so that if we're in a theater that's a little deeper and we're filming a presentation, then we can get a close-up from further away, so we're less intrusive on the audience. We also bring some extra XLR cables so that if we can plug into the soundboard, we can put the camera wherever we want in the theater and run that XLR cord to the camera from the soundboard. There's a lot of details in our gear that we could probably go over in another episode about dynamic range, mobility, but the main thing I want our clients to remember is, though our cameras are smaller than some of the other production cameras that you're going to see on sets, they're still high-end production cameras. We use the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro is what we typically bring with us on these shoots. We have a lot of stuff, but it's not everything. We don't want to bring everything because many times a booth might be, you never know, right? Like some of the sizes, Trip, that we've dealt with over the years are anything from a 30 by 50 foot booth all the way down to, what's the smallest one you think we've run into, Mason? 6 by 10?
Particularly with this booth as well, I think we also try to be less visible. We don't need something big enough to distract the audience and the presenter. So we bring things like a compact inflatable light that we can put on anything that's metal, so we can just have it on the side so it's not a big distraction, and it's also helpful for us visually. To other people, it's just it's a floating plastic thing that's lighting up, but to us, it's the key thing that's making this project look amazing.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we forget is that in the conference hall, when you get there, it feels like it's just kind of evenly lit everywhere on the ground for our eyes. But when it comes down to it, most of all the conference centers that we've been to, even if they've been converted over to LED, they're still using the cone-shaped can lights on the ceiling, which means that they're shining straight down on the subject a lot of times, creating deep shadows under their eyes, deep shadows under their chin. And so if we can, we do like to get some of those compact, non-intrusive lights that we can put and shine onto the presenter so that the presenter is a little bit more evenly lit. You can see their eyes a little bit better, and it makes it a lot better. We tend to bring more than what we use because we never know what we're going to be using there on set. So one of the examples we ran into is sometimes we can plug into the soundboard, sometimes we can't.
At a conference, you never know what the price is going to be to plug into their AV system. And so at DigiBio, we always bring what we need to film, even if we didn't have any help from the conference at all. And so in this case, had certain requirements around audio, so we weren't able to plug into their sound system. So we brought our own microphones. We're going to set up our own audio. We're completely off-grid, basically, in this theater space, and we're still going to get good audio, we're still going to get good video. Even with the restrictions, it's not going to bother us. So
Yeah, most of the time it's really great. We have our producers have great relationships with the conferences. We get permitting, all that stuff taken care of. AACR was the same. We were able to contact them ahead of time. And one of the things that we weren't sure of, though, was whether or not the client was going to have approval to plug in our cameras to the audio board to get clean audio straight from the audio board. It's always best to do that as one of our secure, like our main secure audio, because say in the Q&A they're handing a microphone around, we want to get that microphone audio also. All that's going to the mixing board in the back of the product theater, and we want that clean audio. In this case, whether it's they're not set up to send us a feed, or in many cases there's a pretty expensive premium for us to plug into the AV system. Regardless of what the actual hard reason was, we couldn't plug into the mixing board, the audio mixing board at AACR. So every time we do a conference shoot like this, we make sure that we can run completely independent from anything that the conference might provide. So many times the conference might provide a light tree where there's a spotlight on the presenter. Sometimes they don't. And so we bring a couple extra lights. Same with audio. Sometimes we can plug into the audio mixing board and get clean audio from them, but sometimes we can't. And so we bring enough microphones that can be lavalier, just the little ones that stick to your collar. And we bring those in case there's multiple presenters. We bring several. And that way, no matter what, we're going to get clean audio. A lot of times, what we end up doing, because the presenter is only presenting at the podium, is we rig a microphone to the podium mic. So you'll see two little mics. You'll see the podium microphone that goes to the AV system, and you'll see our microphone.
Yeah, it's also a little sneaky too. We just, not sneaky, but it's also we were able to do it where it's not, like, again, not a distraction to others. It's just
non-intrusive.
We just put it right under the mic, and it was like it's as if nothing was there. So, and it came out clean too. That's the best part about the audio that we use, is it's wireproof as well. We can go really far back and still get clean audio from the subject, which is pretty awesome. When it comes to producing conferences and events like this, what is your experience when it comes with dealing with logistics and planning?
Yeah. So in particular, Alyssa and I talked about this one. One of the first things that always comes up with conference is EACs, and whether or not we're going to be able to show up and film. There's certain exhibitors who are allowed to have their own production crew on the floor, and there's a lot of conferences where they're taking that ability away. They want you to use their production team. So that is one of the biggest considerations. In the case of AACR, Alyssa and I talked about it, and it was that you could only shoot within the booth at the event. So that's led to some of the limitations you guys had with, size of booth, whether or not you want to take the whole booth up, some of those considerations. And beyond that, this is where a lot of that producing comes in handy, because those logistics where even to just get that EAC sign off to get us those badges, it has to come from the exhibitor. It can't come from the production team. So we have to help get you ready to apply for this. So it's a collaborative effort between the exhibitor and our production team to kind of get those badges in order to just show up and film. It's not like we can just show up with a bunch of camera gear and they're like, who are you with? There's a lot of considerations like certificates of insurance and a lot of this other stuff that we need to take care of months before. I don't remember when AACR was, but the due date for EAC submission was in February. And that's, I'm pretty sure, like months before that event even took place. A lot of that is basically what goes into place, just the pre-production. And then it's not stuff you can do last minute. That's why we need so much time beforehand in order to make sure we can get to the venue, actually be able to film at the venue. Maybe we even need to get permission to use audio from a soundboard. That's an example of something that could happen too.
And like we preach trying to get to our shoots early, and we always go to our shoots early. That because a situation like this where Adam's badge for some reason it took a lot longer to get a process, and we had to wait. And if it wasn't for us already arriving 30 minutes in advance, because we already know it's a convention in a big city, there's going to be traffic. We had to get there, and we're carrying a bunch of gear. So yeah, and it was a great thing that we got there on time, because that gap of that delay of us arriving to the booth or to the theater could have jeopardized their video. They could have started presenting, and then we would have had to walk in midway, and there you go. That first 5 minutes to other people might not be a big deal, that first 5 minutes out of an hour, but those first 5 minutes is very important to the client. And for this situation too, for this shoot, we had a theater, and then we had a transition right away from the theater to the booth. And with your experience, Adam, how is it when it comes to breaking down all the gear and transitioning from a conference presentation to now we're doing a testimonial in a separate booth with restrictions on where we can, set up our production?
Yeah, I think one of the things you said about being there a little early is so valuable, because we did have that hiccup where my badge wasn't ready and they had to go print it. It took a little time, but we were still there so early that we got eyes on the booth before we did the product theater filming, which meant that you and I, as creatives, right, would do the DP work of deciding this is the direction they want us to point, this is the branding they want in the background, this is a good spot where they can stand, and to do that, we need to move the table. Remember, we had to like move a table out of the way. But because we have that experience of going, we can get the diagrams, and we do from the client. Our clients are awesome. They always are able to get us the diagrams of their booth and which booth number they're in, so we can look it on the conference website. But that doesn't mean that when we stand there, it's going to be the same thing. So we always try to get eyes on the booth before we bring gear over and make decisions like, where are we going to put the excess gear? Is it going to leave enough space for the sales teams to still have meetings in the booth? How is the subject going to look? What are we going to do in regards to surrounding noise, right? So all these things we can kind of make decisions on with a little bit more time if we head over to the product theater area, set our gear down, talk to the AV people. Cool. We have extra time now that we're set up at the product booth. Nathan and I are going to break off, go to your booth from the product theater, and just double check and make sure we know what we're going to be doing later on. And so that was the first thing that I wanted to mention, is being there early really helps a ton. The second thing is we had the opportunity to rig out the cameras and then basically only pack up what needed to be packed up and leave the cameras rigged.
Yeah, and prior to us looking at the booth before we even started, we already had the visual of what we wanted.
Yeah. Yep. So the gear that was selected to be put on the rig in the product theater was also some of the gear that we're like, okay, we're going to run this lens on this camera both in the product theater and in the booth. This other camera, we need to swap lenses on that real quick. So we swapped that lens, closed up the bag, asked Alyssa to pull that bag while we carried the cameras over, rigged on tripods. And it made our transition just that much faster. Because one of the things that I think is really important that we recognize is when our clients ask, a knowledgeable leader in their industry to be on camera in their booth, we want to be ready for them so that they're not being rushed. And so this is a perfect example where they had both internal team members and they had important persons in their industry both speaking on camera. And we wanted to make sure that those people felt comfortable, felt welcome. And if we were rushing around, moving gear, moving a table, setting things up while they're watching us kind of frantically moving around, it sets a tone of stress that we don't need our clients to feel while we're interviewing them.
You restated a word, and for me, that makes it feel so organic. Like you're just talking. And like that's actually really valuable in these things, because like if you're just being you, people are gonna believe it. You know what I mean?
As a producer and someone who also manages these questions, to have a person like Adam, to also have his input, how much does that help you and help with the client feel comfortable as well?
Yeah, I mean, and Adam just hit it out of the park, just saying from the setup right? We want the client to be comfortable. If we're frantic, you're frantic. It with a camera in front of you, if the camera lens is pointing at you, it's very alarming. A lot of people are very they feel very vulnerable when they're on camera. And so we always want one of the foundational premises is comfort on set. And, we want you to be confident in what you're saying. That's why we recommend, hair and makeup sometimes. We just want you to be the best, but we also want you to be you, because that's what the backbone of documentary filmmaking, which this is at its essence, is personality, who you are. You need to have that humanity to kind of connect to. And so in this clip, Adam's clearly saying, like, hey, this is you, this is who you are. Sometimes you say words that aren't necessarily the like clinical term, but if someone coming into this is a salesperson and not a clinical person, they're going to be able to attach to that and be like, okay, cool. Thank you. So, like, I can actually understand this. This is someone who's talking my language. So Adam's expertise in documentary filmmaking and really highlighting the individual really helps increase the value, the reception, and ultimately the product that we are giving to the client and then you're giving to your audience.
So like whenever we are on set, whether it's a outdoors, indoors, in a lab or in a conference, we try to leave the way we saw it. Like we preach as much as we can to not leave any evidence that we were on, that we had a set on here. After cleaning up and wrapping up, we tried to get as much conversation with the client without, distracting them. And it is hard when a convention because they are working. We don't want to interfere with their workspace, but at the same time, we do want to leave in a good note and make sure that we're not just setting up, break it down and leave. We try to make sure we have a good farewell. But after that, man, I mean, we just, with the time that we have left in that specific spot, we just try to have fun. We try to have teamwork time. We try to have more conversations within each other and go out for dinners, explore the city. And I feel like that's another perk on these type of shoots for these conventions, is that not only we have fun working, after we're done and after we did the hard work, we now have the satisfaction of just relaxing, spending that time with each other and just experiencing the city, even if it's our first time. Like, I think that's what one thing I always look forward to after filming a great day, is also spending time having to end a great day with you guys.
Yeah, I definitely think that the one of the things that our clients, we've heard from our clients, is that they feel like we are just part of their team. We're not just like a hired hand, and we actually take a lot of pride in that. I think after we're done filming, we frequently get invited to their team dinners or to meet up with them after we're done filming, because we understand. I think that it fundamentally comes down to, like, we understand that a lot of marketers have advocated the reason why we need to be there to their superiors in their company. And so because they've advocated for us, we have a lot of gratitude to them, that when we come in, we treat everyone professionally. We make sure that the video quality is super good despite all of the challenges of being on a conference floor. And then in the end, that we hear them and that we're their partner in things, and that we really care about the outcome of their product and their video. And so it is nice to go out and see these cities, and then go to dinner and kind of wrap up the day being really proud of what you've done that day. So it's good.
Well, yeah, I think that's the big thing is um, the humanity we bring on set is it translates over to those end of the shoot discussion. Hey, is there any B-roll? We have a little extra time. Do you want us to get some B-roll? Some stuff there, and they're like, no, we appreciate it. And if you're exhibiting at a conference, you have 9,000 things you are thinking about at the same time. And like you said, Adam and Nathan, the fact that we bring so much to the table allows them to kind of relax and view us as someone in their internal team, where, it's no longer 9,000, it's 8,900 things to think about.
And
Yeah,
also
for
it's
sure.
like the energy of that shoot stays. I think everyone that's a filmmaker, anyone that's in the film industry, or anyone that hired a film crew, you're gonna remember how it was on set. You're gonna remember the feeling, the environment it was. So if we left, like I said, if we left in a good note, we were happy. Even if we were in the trenches, it was an 8-hour shoot. We had so many doctors and patient testimonials, or whatever it could be, or an expert that came in and talked, or a participant that added to the schedule, but we still are able to fit in the time. If we end in a good note and then we open that project, whether Adam starts to edit it or I start to edit it, that feeling of like, yeah, that set was fun is going to come back in the edit, and it's going to reflect on the edit too. I think anyone, when you had a good experience and you're now working and putting it together, that experience hasn't left yet, because it's still there. The project is still technically not finished. So if you had a good experience on set and travel, and now you're back home, you're opening up that project, seeing everything you saw again, I feel like it will reflect on the edit, because you're now bringing back that positive experience that you had. So that was AACR. We love traveling. These are just one of many travel shoots that we have that we also documented. So if you guys like this type of content, please comment below and give a like and share, and let us know what other things you guys would want to know behind the scenes.